Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode in the latest and greatest in Pokemon TCG news. This is the PokeAdvisor podcast bringing the latest news in the Pokemon TCG space. Before we get started, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to enter for your chance to win a Destin Rivals ETB. All you have to do is like, comment, subscribe. It'll mean a lot to me and it'll help me with making my channel. Alright, and let's get into it. So the biggest Pokemon movers and shakers of the week of April 16, 2025, the Pokemon market continues to correct itself with a few exceptions. The great settling of Pokemon cards continues. That's where things stand right now, as the newest set, Journey Together, approaches a month old and becomes much less new. As we've discussed at length in recent weeks, the rush on Pokemon cards we saw at the peak of Surging Sparks and Prismatic Evolutions in the mobile app Pokemon Pocket has passed us. This isn't to downplay any of the current Pokemon offerings, or to be all doom and gloom. On the contrary, I think the next 18 months of Pokemon look very exciting, with the 30th anniversary of the franchise coming in 2026. But until we get there, we may see some more slow weeks, and that means an opportunity to pick up chase cards taking a slight dip in price, except of course for Prismatic Evolutions. That set keeps on giving. Let's start there, with a couple of cards that bucked the overall trend and posted gains over the last week. Beautiful card. Beautiful card. Who hates it? Sylveon. I mean, look at those beautiful colors. The pink, the blue. The price. It's been a few weeks since we've led with an evolution, but the underprinted Prismatic Evolution continues to inch up. While it's a far cry from the 20 to 30% weekly leaps we were seeing at the height of the frenzy, there are still some gainers in the set this week, most notably Sylveon EX 156. The Psychic Pokemon jumped up 10% this week, a number that doesn't sound like a ton until you realize that represents a full $50 increase, up to a whopping $535 for the ridiculously expensive set. There are 17 cards in Prismatic Evolution with a market price over $100. One of my favorites, Vaporeon EX 149, which was the next biggest Prismatic Evolution gainer. It jumped from 413 up to 443 over the past week, while Jolteon EX bumped from 315 up to 340. So, man, right here. Most of the other major chase cards in the set were flat. Espeon, so it might be a good time to buy, climbed $15 up to $430, so it might be a good time to buy an Espeon. Glaceon, 340, oops. Glaceon bumped up a few percent to 345. Nothing too extreme in temper by the fact that Leafeon, this one, dipped down $10 down to 470, but the takeaway is clear. Even in a slow market, Prismatic is looking like it's going to hold up for a long, long time. Next is Articuno. Journey Together, on the other hand, so this is Articuno from Journey Together, and it still has room to go to reach the absolute bottom. The biggest drop in this set belonged to Articuno 161, with the illustration rare dropping from 37 to 29 over the last week. Headliner of the set, of course, is Clefairy, Lily's Clefairy, which fell below $200 at the time. So right here, excuse me, start at 330 and now 200. Coming at 195. On the other end of the spectrum, Lily's Robombi start at 40 and now $8. Sheesh, that's a drop. Fell below $10 for the first time, so this might be a good opportunity actually. We're also seeing continuing softness for what was once a solid $500 card. Pikachu EX from 500 down to 341. Excuse me. If I had to pinpoint a moment in time when Pokemon Fever broke out in 2024, it was the release of Surging Spark back in November. That was when the headlines started and Costco runs became contact sports, and was right after the release of Pokemon Pocket. EX Pikachu 238 became the face of the latest rush, and after coming out of the release gates around 300, quickly jumped over 500 when it stayed for the next several months. But the bubble may be bursting on this printing of Pikachu, at least for now. The market price has fallen all the way down to 340, and there are near mint copies available on TCG Player for less than that, so it might be a good time to pick up. It's impossible to predict where this Pikachu's price will go in the coming years, but this current drop is well worth keeping an eye on. Moving on, Unbroken Bonds. Oof. $900 booster. It has the distinction of being one of the last major releases before the pandemic unopened. The global trading card economy. 2019 set was printed under a different paradigm than modern day sets, and despite a handful of expensive cards, it's a set that doesn't crop up much in conversation or movers and shakers these days. But with the announcement earlier this year that megas were returning, we saw previous iterations of those types begin to jump, along with some iconic team-ups from sets like Unbroken Bond. As we see Greninja and Zoroark, 190 from 111, and then $100 before that. Beautiful card. I mean, you got Greninja, look at the eye, and you got Zoroark chilling. That brings us to the Greninja and Zoroark, which has the most striking climb of the last few weeks. A $100 card for basically the last 2 years. Pokemon Day announcement in February was the catalyst for the card's biggest moves. In all, it has climbed from 130 to 2 months ago to up to 200. And it's just the tip of the iceberg. Every printing of Greninja and Zoroark in the set has been climbing precipitously this year. And there are a handful of different printings in the set, most notably base Virgin Greninja and Zoroark. This is really nice. Exploded from $15 at the end of the last year to $40, with another $5 being added in just last week. This is a nice one. Wow, $391. Gardevoir and Sylveon. Looking through the rest of the set, it's no surprise that the two mega popular Pokemon in Gardevoir and Sylveon team up to create the most expensive card in the set. Psychic Pair has been on a steady incline for the last year, starting just under 200 back in May 2024, but climbing up to 300, but that wasn't the top of the market. In fact, the card's growth has accelerated since, and today checks in at $400 for a near mint copy. Then you got the Rainbow Reshiram and Charizard for $150. If you're looking for a target, Reshiram and Charizard from the same set is the third most expensive behind the aforementioned two pairs, but hasn't seen the explosive growth the other two have. In fact, the Fire Pokemon pair has been slowly inching up week after week this year, climbing from 135 in February to something more like 150 for a near mint copy, with relatively low supply as of writing. Odds are this is going to follow suit and jump up above 200 before the summer is out. Let me know what you guys think of this article, and please like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know your thoughts on this list, and if something should have been added. Man, I love these Prismatic Evolution cards. Alright, and don't forget, Destined Rivals coming May 30th. We'll be sure to cover that here on the Poke Advisor podcast. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.